What is the one thing that will help you get over a breakup more than anything else? Hi, my name is Jeremy and welcome to the Breakup Healing System. In this video, I'm going to reveal to you a simple yet powerful method you can use to get over a breakup fast. So breakups can be real happiness killers. Suddenly there's a cold vacuum in your life where a person you cared for and counted on used to be. You've made compromises and future plans because you thought it was the right thing to do. But now you're feeling worried that you're faced with a bleak and lonely future. Moving on from the life you've spent months or years building with a partner isn't as easy as swiping left or right. Every day, people deal with the effects of an unwanted breakup: sadness, loneliness, guilt, and wishing you could change what happened in the past. You can't stop thinking about your ex, and you might even stalk them on social media sometimes. And of course, that only makes you feel worse. Or maybe you feel like you haven't gotten closure. You're stuck wanting to know why the relationship ended and why you feel so bad, and you really need to know. So your mind creates mysteries and conspiracies to fill the gap. When you're going through a breakup, it's common to try and hide from life. You ignore your friends, neglect your work, and avoid any self-care. And these behaviors serve only to make a breakup worse. Many people struggle like this to get over a breakup. And while many struggle with the after effects, there is an easy way to get over a breakup and feel peace and happiness that most people don't know about. The secret is letting go. And you may have heard that before. Just let it go. A lot of people say that, but most people don't tell you how to let go. That's because they don't know how. Some people are just naturally better at letting go than others. But we all have a natural ability to let go. And letting go is something that can be learned, developed, and strengthened, just like a muscle. I've created a free 4-part video course that will show you the basics of letting go so you can get relief from the pain and anxiety of your breakup. There's a link in the description below. You can sign up now and get free instant access. Or stick around and listen to my story of how a bad relationship and subsequent breakup sent me down a self-destructive path, and how a chance discovery of emotional releasing completely healed my trauma and led to miraculous gains in my happiness, relationships, career, and even health. This is my breakup healing story. So I was 21 the first time I fell in love. I had been shy and awkward during my teens and didn't have much experience with women and dating. This was my first real relationship, and it felt like I had won the lottery. We both came from religious families, so I proposed to her. Being young and naive, I thought that falling in love with someone meant you would love each other forever. But after the wedding, things started to go downhill. We both had emotional issues that neither of us could handle, and I don't think we were ready for marriage. We stuck it out for 2 more years until I had a run-in with police that completely shattered what was already falling apart. One night I took 5 grams of magic mushrooms and had a bad trip and the police ended up getting involved. In my drug-induced state, I fought multiple cops like a rabid animal. And as you can guess, it did not end well. I woke up the next day in jail with severe bruising and a dislocated shoulder. I was charged with resisting arrest and battery on a peace officer. The latter was a felony that can get you 2 years in prison. Shortly after my arrest, my wife asked for a divorce, and I was devastated. She kicked me while I was down. I felt betrayed and completely heartbroken. Luckily, my lawyer managed to get me a plea deal with just probation. Afterward, I graduated from college and got a job in a different city. And things were going okay for me, but I was still reeling from the divorce. Being dumped like that made me feel worthless. The future I had imagined was shattered. I felt lost, and it was around this time my priorities began shifting. I was no longer worried about supporting myself, my family, my wife. I was rebounding and I wanted to get laid. I felt like that was the validation I needed to feel like I was still worthy of love and affection. So the first thing I did was try to make myself look the part. When you're in an emotional state, it's easy to make bad decisions. And my first bad decision was buying a new car. I was making enough money to fund it, but it strained my finances later. But at least I looked rich. And it only took a few weeks to realize that women don't flock to you just because you drive a nice car. So it was time to move to step 2. And this was in 2008. It was around this time what's known as the manosphere was still in its early stages. And the main driver of this movement was guys teaching other guys how to pick up women. And so I started studying this information and just going out to try what I'd learned. And at first it was really difficult for an introvert like me to break out of my old habits. But within a few months, I started seeing success. And it was around this time that I got into personal development and self-help. Going from having extraordinarily little success with women to picking up 10 or 15 women in a month gave me a lot of confidence. The thought came to me one day, if I could just read a few books and completely change one aspect of my life, what's stopping me from doing that with everything? So I started studying all kinds of authors. Tony Robbins was my go-to for self-help, but I also got into spiritual self-help. One day at a local bookstore, a book entitled You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay caught my eye. I'm not sure why I bought it. Maybe because some part of me knew I needed spiritual healing. I had a nice car and an exciting lifestyle, but I still wasn't happy. And so my spiritual journey began at this time. Spirituality wasn't a big part of my life then, but it played a bigger role in the years to come. So I was working and partying in my free time, and one night while out on a date with a woman I had met the previous weekend, I was arrested for DUI. I was still on probation for my previous arrest. Getting arrested for DUI is bad enough, but getting arrested while on felony probation is much, much worse. I ended up spending about a month in jail and lost my car and my job. And this was around 2009. The recession was getting really bad, and that's a bad time to lose your job. But the judge had mercy on me, and he gave me time served and set me on my way. The second brush with imprisonment left me with 2 probation officers, no job, and no car. I felt like my life was over. I eventually found another job, and while it was mind-numbing and didn't pay very well, I was able to eat and pay the bills. My probation finally ended, and with it, I should have learned my lesson. But I continued partying. I really hadn't learned anything. I was still dealing with a lot of emotional baggage. I had unresolved feelings about my divorce and everything else that had happened in my life. Plus, I felt like I had no future. When you're in this state of mind, it's easy to go back to bad habits. I managed to slowly rebuild my social life, but my professional life was in the doldrums. I put all my self-help on hold during this time, but I never gave up hope. I knew I could do better, but I didn't dare try then. I just didn't think it was possible. A few years later, I was unemployed and living in my parents' house. Not much had changed. I was still partying with my friends when I had the money, and this was my rock bottom. I was 27 years old and completely miserable. My life wasn't turning out how I'd planned. Finally, I felt bad enough about myself to do something about it. I decided to go back to self-help, and I looked online for something that I hadn't tried before. By some stroke of luck or divine providence, I discovered a program all about letting go. And I really didn't know what it was about, but when I saw it, something inside me knew it was the right thing to do. So I downloaded the program, sat on the couch, and listened. It was a recording of a live seminar, and the host chuckled as he presented the material and interacted with the audience. It was unlike anything I had ever encountered before. The concepts and ideas that were presented were counterintuitive. They talked about how want equates to lack, and that by letting go of wanting, you'll open yourself up to having. I had never heard this before, but I had learned many years ago when learning to interact with women that things that are counterintuitive often work well. Eben Pagan, a well-known business and dating guru, coined this the critical counterintuitive. It's critical because little else matters, and counterintuitive because it reminds us that the world works in ways opposite to how we think it does. Once you understand what it is, the critical counterintuitive is everywhere you look. The nice guy hardly ever gets the girl. The smartest kid in class rarely changes the world. And the hardest worker doesn't make the most money. Knowing this, I did all the counterintuitive exercises presented in the program with complete sincerity. And because I was at rock bottom, I had nothing to lose. I was ready to let go. And it felt so good to let go. I had been holding on so tightly before. As I let go, I felt more relaxed and more at peace. I noticed that my mind was becoming more silent, and I felt genuinely happier. I kept listening and letting go for the rest of the day. One thing I noticed was that letting go freed up a lot of energy in my body. I could hardly sleep that first night, and I didn't really feel tired. I just felt this peaceful stillness in my being, a certain aliveness that I hadn't noticed before. The following morning, I kept listening to the seminar and letting go. I went for walks periodically to balance out all the sitting on the couch, and because of the huge increase in energy I was experiencing in my body. And I really didn't understand what I was doing at the time. I had this vague sense from the conversations I was hearing that what I was doing was spiritual in nature. But I also thought that maybe I was reprogramming my mind for success, as some secular self-help programs advertise. But a short time later, I was left with no doubt as to whether or not this was a spiritual practice. For the past 3 days, I had been letting go intensely. My entire state had changed as a result. I felt much more energized and positive. I went for another walk, and it was a cool day in early October. My mind was entirely silent. I felt a calm stillness in my entire being. As I walked, I felt the most incredible feelings of happiness and bliss. Feeling these incredible and unexpected feelings, I thought to myself, what is this? What is happening? I had experimented with numerous recreational drugs in the past, and none of my previous drug experiences could even come close to the ecstatic joy I was experiencing. These feelings of joy and bliss were in such a stark contrast to the hopelessness and depression I was feeling just a few days earlier. With these feelings of happiness and bliss, I also noticed a choiceless, infinite, and unconditional love within both myself and the entire universe. It was just there without any effort on my part. I felt love for everything around me and saw no separation between myself and anything else. I felt utterly delighted and completely in love with the whole world. In this same moment, I also saw that what we truly are contains all time and space, that we are infinite beyond time and space and can never die. This realization just hit me like a ton of bricks. In that moment, I felt complete redemption, not only for myself, but for the whole world. There were no victims or perpetrators, only one glorious being, shining with a brilliance brighter than the sun. I realized that there was nothing to fear, ever. I completely lost the fear of death, and to this day, I never think about death in a negative way. This peak experience lasted only a few moments, but left me with a lasting sense of peace and harmony. And since then, I've had many experiences like this. My current day-to-day state is that of complete satisfaction and unconditional love. This first awakening experience marked a huge turning point in my life. A few months later, I landed my dream job with a startup company. After years of being unemployed and underemployed, it felt like an absolute miracle. The job paid well, and the work I did was exciting. It was the perfect job for me at that time. And all my relationships improved as well. My relationship with my family had been strained, but that rapidly improved. And I also noticed that my dating life improved. Women just wanted to be around me. I used to have to use a lot of effort and game to get dates. After letting go, it was effortless. I had better relationships with less effort and friction. And I have seen many more miracles from this work since then, including effortlessly finding my ideal partner who I now have a daughter with, and feeling no pain or suffering after being seriously injured in a motorcycle accident, and starting a successful business when I didn't even have the money to pay my rent. As you let go, you will move away from negative emotions like fear and grief and feel more love, happiness, and peace in your life instead. And you will see miracles manifest as well. Sometimes the miracles will be small and sometimes they'll be big, but they are miracles nonetheless. And the ultimate miracle is realizing the truth of who you are. Seeing for yourself that you are not separate from the supreme being of the universe, the source of all beauty and love, and that you are already free from your so-called problems. Does this sound at all interesting to you? If so, I've taken what I've learned from 10 years of applying letting go in my own life and working with others and turned it into a system you can use to quickly recover from your breakup. And you won't just recover, you'll thrive and be better off than you were before the relationship ended. Much better. I call it the Breakup Healing System, and it's an online course designed to help you let go of the painful feelings you experience after a breakup and create a life that you love. And it's important to let go of the feelings you have about your breakup. Your thoughts and behaviors are heavily influenced by your feelings you hold inside of you. If you hold on to negative feelings like grief, anger, and guilt, the decisions you make will lead to undesirable results in your life like it did in mine. Garbage in, garbage out. And if you let these negative emotions go, you'll make decisions from a place of peace and positivity instead. You'll make better decisions that lead you to greater heights of happiness, success, and love. As you let go, you will notice improvements in all aspects of your life, including improved health and well-being, more money with less effort, and better relationships with everyone around you. So now is your chance to try this out for free. I've created a 4-part video mini course that explains the basics of letting go. And in this course, we'll do a few letting go exercises together to help you get started. This course will help you get relief from the pain of your breakup. And you can try it out for yourself and see if you want to enroll in the full course. So if you're ready to get started, click the link in the description below to get free instant access to this course and start letting go so you can feel peace and happiness again.